McKee. He's the man with the show. From mayors to musicians, let the good times flow. Grab a seat and settle down. Get ready for a ride. Incredible guests lined up. Let's take it in stride. Voices from your community, stories to be told. With every conversation, let the magic unfold. Join the prime time, come on, tune in. Engage in discussions where the fun begins. With Jerry McKee at the helm of the stream. Experience the vibes, live the dream. From Ronnie McDowell to the Oak Ridge Boys, connecting us all through laughter and joys. Every guest a treasure, a beacon of light. Each story a journey, taking flight. Get to know the people who shape our days. With Jerry leading the way, we'll be amazed. So grab your coffee, it's time to unwind.
Well, hello, I'm Jerry McKee, and welcome to Primetime this morning. We have got a great guest for you tonight, and it's more on, we're going to be talking a little bit of religion, and you can make comments, and we'll show those, but you've got to have an open mind, and plus, pray about it first. What we have right now, we have Andrew Hamblin is a widely recognized Appalachian minister, best known for his role as one of the stars in National Geographic reality television series Snake Salvation back in 2013. He was raised in rural Tennessee. Hamlin is a prominent figure in the signs-following Pentecostal tradition, a century-old practice which worshipers handle venomous serpents to demonstrate their faith in the protection of the Holy Spirit. Hamlin's entered this national spotlight in 2013, and as he was with his late mentor, Pastor Jamie Cooch, who was featured also on National Geographic, the series. The show documented their efforts to keep the radical religious tradition alive in the face of local laws, social disapproval, and legal pushback. So the practice of serpent handling is rooted literally in interpretation of the Bible verses Mark 16, verses 7 and 18, which states that believers shall pick up serpents. So enough about me. Let's bring Mr. Hamlin on and introduce himself. Hey, how's it going, Andrew? Just say Pastor Hamlin, or just
you can just call me Andrew. That's fine by me. I had the brother Andrew, whatever you call me, just call me for supper. Just make sure you call me for supper. That's what matters most.
Exactly. I'm the same way. My wife's a great cook, and I tell you,
I'm gonna turn that light off there. How's that?
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be sitting doing this all night long if I don't get that out of the way.
Well, we don't look like you had a halo behind you,
Definitely don't need that.
Now, Andrew, I have a question. Is that when you was growing up, I think your grandpa took you to church? Was it your grandpa that took you, or when you was little?
Yeah, when I was born. I was about a year old. My grandparents took me. My biological mother, she went to church at the time, but my grandparents took me. And he was a pastor of a Free Will Baptist church, and but we were a different breed of Free Will Baptists because we growing up, and I thought all Free Will Baptists believed this way. You've heard of the Shouting Baptists, but now our Baptist was more old time Church of God Pentecostal style. We spoke in tongues. We believed in baptism of the Holy Ghost. They shouted and danced, and people spoke in tongues and prophesied and laid hands on one another. And I mean, it was no different than being at a normal Church of God or Pentecostal service. But that's I was born March 29th, 1991, was a Good Friday, and my first church service was 48 hours later at a Easter Sunday at the Rock Creek Free Will Baptist Church.
What caused you to transition and from a Free Will Baptist upbringing into a serpent handling tradition?
Well, Brother Jerry, what it was, we was raised to you didn't mock other folks' beliefs. You didn't if you didn't understand something, you either prayed about it, and if it was right, or if God led you in that, good, great, grand, wonderful. And if God didn't, leave it alone. You know, don't knock it, don't judge nobody. It's not your place, but just leave it alone. And I was, and the irony of it all was, I was raised around serpent handling people and didn't know it because they didn't talk about it. It's just, you know, there was a man who preached, and from here on, when I say mom and dad, I'm referring to my grandparents that raised me. There was a preacher that preached for my dad often, and he was a serpent handler, and they knew it, but it wasn't something that got talked about. You didn't focus. He handles snakes in church. You know, when he came, he never talked about snakes or brought snakes or nothing like that. But I guess, Brother Jerry, I was about 15 years old, I guess, around that time, 14 maybe, and there was a documentary. Had come on TV, and I was sitting there watching TV. We had cable television, and there it was. And there these people were. They were shouting. They were dancing. Their music was similar to ours. Theirs was a bit more what I liked. It had that, you know, sound to it. And then all of a sudden the camera flips, and there stands men and women with rattlers, copperheads, cottonmouths in their hands, and I was blown away. And my thought process as a teenager was, they're doing everything we're doing, but a little more. And so from that age on till I was 17, I read every book I could read about it. I'd go to the library. I was raised in a little town called Clearfield, Tennessee. It sits right across the mountain from Middlesboro, Kentucky, on the Tennessee side. And it's literally right down from the state line. And when Mom would go trading in Middlesboro, she'd drop me off at the library, and I'd sit in there for ever how long she was gone, and I'd read every book that I could, and we didn't have internet.
Now, you remember the first book you read and who the author was?
Yes, I do. It was Fred Brown and Janine McDonald, Serpent Handlers, Three Families and Their Faith.
Okay.
That was one of the first. I read that. I read, of course, I read Salvation on Sand Mountain by Dennis Covington. Thomas Burton's books, all of Ralph Hood and Paul Williamson. Them two were phenomenal. Dennis Covington's book, I just don't recommend it to people, but anything by Thomas Burton, anything by Dave Kimbrough, Ralph Hood, Paul Williamson, and of course Fred Brown and Janine McDonald's book. Those were textbook. They gave insight. Well, I wanted to see the pictures. I wanted to look, and well, then I started realizing, hey, Middlesboro, Kentucky. Some of the other books started talking about down in La Follette, Tennessee, and just areas all around me. And I'm like, these churches are close, you know.
Well, you know, we here we've got the University of South Carolina where I live at, annex of it, and one of the professors there, and my brother-in-law who's teaches religion as an adjunct teacher at the his name's Dr. Stephen Lemons, and matter of fact, he was one in the video asking questions, but they use a couple of those books you mentioned in their class even now. And we've sat down and talked to the professors there that has talked to the students about different religions and different things, and they found it really fascinating about the snake handling, and especially after we told them that we had a great time. We was welcome with open arms up there, uh,
Right.
and so we have I think my brother-in-law and us, we're both in my family. We have like a bond there that kind of we understand. It's not like you said, nothing judgmental whatsoever.
Right.
It's all because if you if you glorify God, guess what? You glorify God no matter what.
That's right. And what a lot of folk don't understand, and which over the years, although I tried uh, and in my mind as a young man, I was helping. I had a hand in on shipwrecking this thing and causing, in a lot of ways, more bad than good. There was good that came, but uh, people focus on the snakes. They focus on in which I get it. I understand. I mean, I watched it. I seen the pictures, the videos, the books. When I finally would get access to internet, and that was YouTube's younger days, and I'd get on there and man, there's videos, and I'm blown away watching these things, and so I get that. But after having experienced what I experienced and becoming a part of it, I realized, and after all these years, I mean, uh, we're going on, close to almost 20 years that I've been in serpent handling.
Yeah. Well, I have
And
a question.
yeah,
Now, how and a lot of people want to know this too. How do you interpret Mark 16:7 through 18, and why do you feel that this specific passage requires a physical action rather than just a symbolic interpretation?
well, it, it's it it's not just the 16th chapter, Mark, of course. Uh, that to me would be spiritually ignorant to base an entire denomination, an entire faith, whatever, off of two little verses,
Right.
because all through the New Testament scriptures, read about the disciples. The signs were wrought, WROUGHT, wrought with the hands of the apostles. The signs in Cornelius's, on Solomon's porch, and different places. And of course, it starts out though in 16th chapter of Mark. Christ is risen. He upbraided the disciples for their unbelief. This is right before he ascends. And I know that it's a disputed text. I know that some people say that's not in the original manuscripts. It was added later on. But I mean, if we're going to play that card, then for every, and God knows, I mean this in no offense to no one that listens to this, but if we're going to play the card of, well, that was added on or whatever, well, then good King Jimmy's 1611 don't count. We need to go a little further back. We need to go further back than that, and we need to go further back than that. Let's bring me some Dead Sea Scrolls, and I'll do my best to interpret them if we're going to do it that way, But these signs shall follow them that believe. Okay, it's a believer. This is not for people that don't believe. This ain't an act that can be done by someone. If you don't believe that God can allow you to do something, then how can you do it? These signs shall follow them that believe. In my name shall they cast out devils. And I'm quoting the King James Version.
Right.
So shall we? Shall they cast out devils? We sure. They shall speak with new tongues, and that can be interpreted to me now. I'm talking now. A heavenly language. I've heard it be explained as when we speak in tongues, we're speaking with a heavenly language, or we're speaking to God in the spirit. It's a inward thing coming to the outward. I'm on board with this, and I've heard reports of this. Men and women in the mission field never speak a lick of German and be moved by the Spirit to preach the gospel and begin to speak German. And of course, and I got a little ahead of myself, you have to go back to the 15th verse. Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel.
Right.
Period. That was the Great Commission for every Christian from the time of Christ's ascension until now. That was the great commission for us all, was to preach the gospel, not the doctrine, not the denomination, not the believe this. And I mean, here we are. Mankind has took the gospel and perverted it all through time. But to preach the gospel, he that believeth and is baptized shall be saved. And of course, you get a rift there between whether it means immersion in water or the sprinkling, or if it means a spiritual being baptized into Christ and being a new creature. And I can see that. He that believeth not shall be damned. That's your sole way out of this thing. It wasn't if you didn't speak in tongues, or if you didn't handle snakes, or if you weren't Pentecostal or Presbyterian, Baptist, Church of God, if you did not believe on Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God, then you were damned. Period. That was it. It was about believing on Him, His death, His burial, His resurrection, and His second coming. That was the whole purpose of the gospel. And then it said,
right, I think that some of the interpretation, some of the things on there is action words.
sure,
It is in difference from the action words versus your faith and belief, which is your core.
sure,
And I know that just listening and hearing you preach, and especially some of your arrivals, and you're talking about the anointing of God,
yeah.
and some of your intense, revival services. Can you describe kind of physically or spiritually what it feels like before you even touch a snake or anything like that?
Well, I can, because it goes right along with what we're talking about here. The signs, they shall they cast out devils? They shall speak with new tongues. The word shall, you said it, an action word. Jerry, you shall go eat dinner. So what does that mean you're going to do? That means you're going to go eat dinner at some point or another, the next one, they shall take up serpents. The next one, and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick and they shall recover. In the modern day Pentecostal movement, they take three of those. You'll see healings, speaking in tongues, casting out devils, but then boom, those two get dubbed. Or that don't mean what it says. I don't see it that way for me, for my personal walk with God. But to explain the anointing that you have to, again, this goes back to the whole first part of this. These signs shall follow them that believe. You have to believe, because I really can't physically explain it. It's a physical manifestation of the Holy Ghost, of the power of God moving through the believer. And that was another thing that hasn't been brought out clear enough over the years. It's not I'm holding this snake to prove my faith in God. That's crazy to me. I don't have to do a thing to prove my faith to God, except for belief. It is for His glory and for the confirmation of His word with His signs. He moves through the believer and allows them to do that, instructs them. Pick it up. You can take it up. It's not, and this is a handkerchief, by the way, for anybody who's not seeing it clear enough. You ain't learned yet. I talk with my hands a lot, but
I think all preachers do that.
I think they do. I do. I've always done it, but
one of the key words that you're using, and like I said, we've been to the services, and in that description, it doesn't say all shall pick up serpents. It
no,
says they.
no, that's right.
Because we know in the service center, not all in there, even though they've been members of the church and been there
That's
for
right.
years, has never touched a serpent or
That's
never or felt not that they didn't feel the Spirit, but they
Right?
just wasn't called to do that. And I think the Spirit has to move. I think Jamie Cooch told me that
Yes,
when we was there, saying they didn't handle any serpents during that service. And I asked him, I says, "Well, was it something else?" He says, "No, the Spirit didn't move us."
that's right. And it has to be led of God to be done. That's no different than uh, laying on of hands or anything like that, where there is a bona fide, genuine miracle to take place. I can pray for. I do pray for you, or you pray for me. We pray for each other. If we were standing within arm's reach, and you said, "Brother Hamlin, I need prayer," I'll lay hands on you. We'll pray. Wonderful. But to have the sign, they shall lay hands on the sick and they shall recover. I can't heal you. I can't miraculously heal you. I can't Benny Hinn you. I can't just pop and there you go. But but through a movement of the Spirit of God and His will and what He does and His plan, uh, during that act, if I believe and He moves, and that's His way of moving and His timing, His plan, you can receive an instantaneous healing. But it
What
takes a movement of the Spirit.
right? What are the primary misconceptions that mainstream Christians have about a congregation that does this?
There's many. We would be here for days, and I see this. Uh, I see this. I still from time to time I'll see comments. You'll get attention seekers. You get folk that they uh, they love to get likes and comments back, and you'll get some guy, some random woman or random man. I went to one of those churches, and they brought a rattlesnake to me. That's a lie. That's a bald faced lie. I went to one of those churches, and that preacher called me up to the front and put one of those around my neck, and me and my family got out of that. That's a lie. That's a bald faced lie, and I tell every one of them it's a lie. I've been in this thing almost 20 years, and even through the pages of time, and they dump them in the floor. Now they'll dump them snakes in the floor. You go up there, they'll dump them out, and they'll crawl. Another bald faced lie. Um, the misconceptions is that and that we live, breathe, and just all the time snake, 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 snake. That's a lie. That's
Well,
but the I will say this on that: the guilty party of that misconception is snake handlers, and that's what I would refer to them as. I wouldn't refer to them as uh, believers in the signs or ones that believe in taking up serpents and practice it. They get the glory they want. They are snake handlers because it's all about, look, I've got a rattlesnake in my hand. I'm holy. And the next thing you know, everything is snake skin. Everything is, they got snake whatnots. And you can't talk to them 10, 20 minutes without hearing about rattlesnakes, copperheads. And if they go to church, they're not praying for people. Uh, they're not worshiping God. They're not even shouting and dancing until the moment a snake gets brought out, and then, honey, they'll Katie bar the door. They're ready to just, oh, God is on the scene then. But if they went to a service like you was talking about being at Brother James, where the Spirit didn't move that way, oh, they go home and they be ready to give up on God and go jump off a cliff somewhere because God didn't move in that way. They're done. They're finished. And so they are the cause of that misconception that it's all about snake, 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 snake. And
well,
as a young man, yeah,
I know before we came there, we didn't know what to expect because and I'm the type of person that I've been to all kinds of different denominations and different churches to learn
sure.
get educated. And I was very educated when I went twice up there to Jamie Coots church. And no, you're right. They didn't bring the snakes out to and run up down the aisle and throw them on you like that. Now I did, I did get scared one time, and the time I got scared was one of the kids had a rubber snake, and,
Oh, yeah.
and had it laying right there in the pew. So I
Yeah.
came down the aisle to sit with my wife like it, and I jumped. I said, "Oh my
Oh,
goodness!"
Lord.
But that's my first time there. But after that,
That's right. And you're not the only one with that type of a story. And which, some people do that, and they'll give their kids a little rubber snake, and you'll see the kids in the back of the church, they're mimicking naturally what they
oh
see.
yeah,
And but I have heard that. I've heard that before, that about getting spooked. But no, they're another misconception, other than it's just like anything. It's just like any denomination. You have got your extremist believers and people that believe, and then you've got folk that they believe the word. They believe that, and for them, I stand in that category, because there is men and women out there who believe if you don't handle one, you're going to die and go to hell. And I don't believe that. That's not
right.
scripture. That's not Bible. But the majority, I will safely say the 90% of serpent handling believers, they will look at you and tell you the same thing I am. You do not have to handle one of these to go to heaven. But I've also heard people tell, well, I met a man one time and he told me if I didn't handle one of those, that I wasn't going to make it. And no doubt that's kind of a half and half. That's because maybe they did. Maybe they did meet one of those type of people
Right. Now,
that looked them dead in the face.
looking looking back at your time on National Geographic Snake Salvation, I didn't like that title personally, but do you feel that the show accurately portrayed your lifestyle and the gravity of your faith?
No, no. It portrayed us as all we did was go around looking for snakes. And it helped. That's what I mean by I had a hand in on the shipwreck of serpent handling. It made us look like that we were constantly running from the law, and that never happened. Had it not have been for snake salvation, I would have never had to went through what I went through in Campbell County, Tennessee. And I don't blame the county, the district attorney, still to this day. I don't blame none of them. They did their part. We stood up and, said, hold on now, we're going to keep doing it. And it all came out good. But no, snake salvation was one of the greatest mistakes of my life. And I regret it. I was a young man. I was 21 years old. I thought in my mind we were doing something great. And when Jamie approached me and said, we've been invited to do this, and we've been invited to, partake in this and whatever else, we should do it. Hey, Jamie was an elder to me. I loved Jamie very much and confident in him. And I can't speak for him. He's gone.
Right.
But I believe that if he could have lived long enough past, he would have seen what it done and the effect it had on all of us. But I regret it. But having said that, even though I do regret it, there was good that came out of it.
Right.
Because there were people who stood back and said, hey, wait a minute. We watched it on TV, and we went up there for a show. We went up there to see it. And then we realized what we seen on TV was nothing like what was in real life. And, but even to this day, because, we serve a God that never changes, but he's constantly molding us. And over the years, I've learned better. I've learned a lot of things that I preached. When I was a young man, I preached it ignorantly. And, I began to allow God to just do what he wanted to do instead of being influenced by whatever else. I've still got people that come up even now, and they watch that over and over, and they'll come up to me. I've had a few over the years. They come and they're like, "Hey, I watched this," and I'm like, "Please don't watch that. Please don't." Don't be watching that. That the young man you see on that seen on that TV show, he's dead and gone. That young man, Andrew Hamlin, does not exist. Let me talk to you now. Well, then when I break it down and I talk to him, it does one of two things. Either, and I have seen them that stayed with it and said, "Man, we seen it, and we wanted, and like God changed us, God used it to help us." Those people I can get with. Or they look at it and they're like, "Well, if I can't get my picture taken holding a rattlesnake, I don't want to be here." And
Oh, wow.
I mean, not they don't come out and say it that way, but I'm just in a nutshell. I have had people over the past 7 years since I pastored here in Kentucky that have come around, that they watched the show, they'd seen it on reruns, whatever, and they were still obsessed with that. And that was their ulterior motive. They wanted to be a snake handler. They thought they were going to get pictures taken. They thought they were going to get to be on TV. And I'd be sitting here at home and I'd get phone calls from people and they'd say, "Man, so and so that's coming out to your church." Yeah, man, they had a rattlesnake up there. They was trying to handle it, and I thought you ought to know about that. Well, I'd call and say, "What are you all doing? Those things will kill you. Stop. This ain't a show. This ain't, stop. You're not on Snake Salvation and you never will be." And so but I have to say now, there was a lot of good that came from the show, but there's way more heartache that came
Right.
out. Uh,
Your goal wasn't necessarily to convert people to serpent handling through television. For one
no, it
thing.
never was to convert people to serpent handling. It was to show the world that we weren't crazy, and it backfired because it made it look. Not only did it make us look crazy, it made us look like we were just obsessed with snakes, and we were young. We the ones of it. I mean, you had Jamie. He was older, and which, I mean, age does not excuse you from making bad decisions. But you had the ones of us that were young, and there we were spouting out, "We believe this and we ain't going to do that. And as sure as you say I'm never going to do something, it'll turn right back around and bite you." And so there we was put on national spotlight, and you had all the world watching us. Well, then after the spotlight went off, after everything went off, life happened.
Right.
Reality happened. Reality set into it to a lot of people, including myself. And I can't speak for the others, but I'll speak for me. I hit rock bottom. Uh, and this is something I don't like to indulge on, but it's there. It's there, and I'm not ashamed of the bad choices that I made. I ended up backsliding. I quit church. I quit preaching. I I began to drink. I ended up going through a divorce. Not only did I go through a divorce, I got myself caught up in the middle of a horrible situation that was my fault. My actions caused me to be arrested. I went to jail for 5 months. I spent 7 years on probation afterwards. Uh, and that happens to people.
You know what?
But
You know what? You know what I see in that right there, Andrew, is that you try to flee from God, and it's almost like the whale
oh,
swallowing Jonah.
when
So
Jonah said, when the word said, "In the belly of hell cried I," I've been there, man. I hit rock bottom, and I take responsibility for what it cost me and for what it done to me, because okay, that happens every day all over America. People make mistakes. People end up in bad decisions. There is preachers, ministers, just Christians that go through hard times, especially as young men and women. But we had been on Snake Salvation.
well,
So,
do you
boom,
think
there it
that
was.
do you think the sudden reality of TV fame kind of changed maybe yourself and your local community or your church family
But
with all?
it changed a lot, Jerry. It really did. Even today, it has taken me uh, 12 years, almost 12 years now, to regain what little bit of a reputation that I have as a decent human being back. Uh, among other there ain't, but I could probably count on maybe one hand the serpent handling churches that I would be welcomed at. I cannot tell you of maybe one or two that I'm welcome to come and participate in. And that's out of thousands of churches that stand today because of the things with the TV show, with not only the TV show but others, that they stand and say, no, we don't, we're staying over here, you stay over there. And that hurts because I still believe, I still practice it, we still do it, but I had to pay for that. That's what I've had to pay for in my life.
Right.
And
Now, on the, I know that the state stepped in, and you think maybe because of this snake salvation, did they decide to come in and
yeah,
take away the snakes and and build this up for you having to go to legislation, tell them, this is a freedom of religion.
it
And
was. The TV show caused it because we had a pretty good thing going, even though we were in Tennessee, and we had a good thing going. And then we did the TV show, and what got it was the traveling across state lines. We weren't just using timber rattlesnakes and copperheads, northern copperheads.
Mhm.
We were going out of state. We had canebrakes, which is a form of timber rattler. That was whatever. Cottonmouths, they're not indigenous to eastern Tennessee and eastern Kentucky. Uh, but then there we were. We had western diamondbacks, eastern diamondbacks, gaboon vipers, puff adders, cobras. And these were not defanged or venomoid. Their venom glands removed. These were potent killers, straight out of the wild. And it's illegal to transport venomous reptiles across state lines. Well, there we were, right on national television, basically looking at in the state of Tennessee, looking at the TWRA, the Tennessee Wildlife, saying, "Woo, catch us if you can." And so the district attorney was just sitting there sort of thinking, I don't want in the middle of this. I don't. But TWR said, we're doing it. But they went about it the wrong way because I did not have those snakes in my home. All these snakes were at the church, and here they were ready to break our church doors down. That's where you have state and you have church. And that's where they started crossing the line because they had bolt cutters and door rams and everything else. They were going to knock down the doors of our church to come in and raid our church. And that's where a line should be drawn. But I will never forget at the grand jury, the defendant normally is not welcome to come in and testify before a grand jury. And they wanted to hear from me, and I went in and I talked and I gave testimony, and I looked over at the district attorney. Her name was Lori Phillips Jones, and she was one of the best district attorneys that Campbell County, Tennessee ever had. And I told her, I said, "You have my word that I don't know how this will pan out." I said, "But I'm not going to stop. We believe in this. But I'm going to have serpents at our religious services." I said, "But I will not go out of state. I won't do and I'll never again do." And to this day, I've never traveled across state lines to retrieve venomous snakes for religious services. I've never, and I won't. If I can't get it here, if someone don't bring it to me, which I don't get to hunt as much as I used to, and our church now, we don't have them every service. We have them occasionally when the Lord moves or the Spirit moves, we'll bring them in. But last year in our church now, I think there was 6 or 7 services total for the year of 25 that serpents were actually a part of our services.
Okay.
And then, of course, this year we've been evangelizing, so we sort of just shut down, for the past little while. Me and my wife's been evangelizing, and we evangelize in non-serpent handling churches. I preach in Free Will Baptist churches, normal Church of God's, Pentecostal, non-denominational. Wherever the door opens, we go.
Right.
And so but it was snake salvation that caused that.
Yeah. Well, let's look at some slide pictures here
All
and
right.
and see if you recognize this couple here.
I do. That is me and my wife. That's my wife, Taylor.
Yes, it did. I'm so sorry. I'll put Elizabeth on there on our
That's
advertisement. Like
no problem.
change that. I said, well, maybe she can change her name to Elizabeth. No, it's
No,
Taylor.
no, not quite. But I do recognize that beautiful woman there. Yeah. All right. That
Now,
photo there.
I didn't know until I listened to a couple of your videos there that how great you are on a guitar.
Ah, buddy, I just pick around on a thing. That photo there was taken at the Laurel Cove Festival at Brother Abe's Sunday service that he had. And I want to throw this in there. If folk are listening, go out and look up Alabama Astronaut, the podcast. Listen to Abe Partridge. Listen to his music, his art. Look at his art. That man is one of my dearest brothers in the Lord and one of my dearest friends. And the Laurel Cove Festival gives him a slot on Sundays. And that was our second year. And this year, we flat out had church. We were shouting, we were dancing. I looked around in the building and I told them, I said, if we would have had one today, the power moved and it could have been handled. But that's what he wants, because we had 200 uh, just people that wouldn't darken the doorways of any denomination of a church. There was atheists there. There was people of all different backgrounds, and they're standing up, Jerry, clapping their hands, and they're like, this is what church is. We want to go to church, and that is what it's all about right there. But yes, that
Well,
was
well,
the
well, my wife loves the music. I can tell you that right now. She loves the music.
yes. Well, now the people that you see in that was wonderful people. My wife was on the bass there.
Yeah.
That was at our homecoming last year. That was Labor Day weekend. Homecoming last year. I was preaching, and that's a yellow timber rattler.
And it looked like it was just standing straight up.
It raised up and then it laid back down.
Wow. And this is just a
Let's
couple
see.
different.
The photo on the left would have been homecoming 2023, maybe. Homecoming 20. Yeah, I think homecoming 23. And the photo on the right was actually taken after service. And on the left, I've got a copperhead in my hand, and on the right, I've got a rattlesnake. And I can't remember. I think that photo on the right would have been homecoming 22 or 24, and that was taken after the service.
Okay.
The photo on the left was a regular Sunday service, and I've got a copperhead in my hand. And the photo on the right there was the same homecoming 23, and I've got a wad of copperheads in my hand.
Now you look like you were sweating on that picture on the left.
Oh, listen, when I've lost a lot of weight over the past few months, but during that period there, I was probably 240, 250-ish, and man, I sweated, and it wasn't because there wasn't no air conditioner. It was just that was me. It was hot in that building that day.
Now, is it harder to get the snake out of the box or putting back in, or does it make any difference?
As long as you're waiting on the Lord to move, it really don't make no difference. But now, they're reptiles, they're animals with minds of their own. That was a photo taken after a service, actually that was homecoming weekend of 22. That was a big rattler that somebody brought in there.
Wow. They're beautiful creatures, really. I mean,
Oh, listen, to talk about, animals in general, and if you want to get scriptural, the Genesis said they were the most subtle beast of the field. The photo on the left was on a Mother's Day weekend. I've got a rattler and two copperheads in my hand, and the photo on the right there was the Saturday night before that service on the left, and I've got two timber rattlers in my hand.
well, the picture on the left, doesn't the different species of the snakes there, don't they kind of like bother each other or
Not with copperheads and rattlesnakes, not that I've seen. Now, you start throwing in some non-venomous snakes, king snakes and so forth, they'll eat copperheads, and smaller rattler, they'll eat them. So, but now I've never had no issue with which, I mean, I've had some aggressive ones over the years sit and bite each other and things like that, but not in a situation like that.
Okay.
Those two pictures, the one on the left, I've got a timber rattlesnake, and the one on the right, I've got two rattlers in my hand.
Okay, I'll see. That looks like that one. Is it the one on the right, on that right picture? Kind of.
Oh, there was someone else standing there, and they had some serpents in their hands.
Well, I just want people to let them know that they just went crawling everywhere.
No, they're not crawling down the wall. No, there was there was another man there with serpents in his hands. I had that, you can't tell it, but there was probably about 3 or 4 copperheads there. They were smaller, and that's my wife standing there behind me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Then that's Jerry there on the left, and that's me on the right. Yeah.
And it's depending on how got your cameras reversed.
Oh, yes. I'll be Jerry. I could be Presbyterian, I guess.
Oh, you would think it was the most boring place in the world now.
No, not a time. Listen, the older I got, the more that I like my quiet relationship with God. I find, and this is going to sound crazy, especially over the past year, evangelizing, I find myself closer to God when it's just me and Him than I do in a room full of people, and the blasting of the music and the everything and the whole 9 yards of a Pentecostal service. I find myself closer to God when it's just me and Him than I do.
And speaking of music, I got 2 little short videos here that I pulled. One's like a minute and 24, and 1 minute 34 seconds. I'm going to play these. Let people listen. Some great music.
Whatever you go out and do it the right way. Not after you look the right way, not after you become the right way, but today, hell shall be. Somebody said, how did you get here? You look around a while. No, somebody looked around the other day and thought, how did he get here? He didn't abide with the things that the prophets told her. How did he get here? I'll tell you how he got there. He got there through my Jesus. Glory to God, I thank you, Lord. Thank you.
Yeah, I tell you, the music gets into the soul there because
It does, and music is a universal language. And don't get me wrong, I'm a bluegrass picker. You know, I love my banjo. I love, Flatt and Scruggs and Bill Monroe and stuff. But I love the rockabilly sound of the Pentecostal and Holiness Church. I do say this: you'll not find nowhere else on earth, not even in normal Pentecostal and Holiness. You'll not find that type of sound like you do in the serpent handling holiness churches.
Well, I know my family was with me up there with Jamie Coos, and the music was playing. I looked, my wife's her foot's a tapping, and my sister-in-law
Yeah.
she's tapping like rocking the whole bench. But
Oh, hey, listen, it don't take you long. There was one man I always told that story that, he went to a snake handling church just to see what it was like. And he said that music got to going. The next thing he knowed, he was right up in the front, right in the middle of them, because he couldn't, he was a Christian and he just began to worship God with them. And well, yeah, come right on up and get in here with us. But, yeah.
now, with the death, of course, of your close mentor, Pastor Jamie Coots, there in 2014, I know it's
Yeah.
a massive blow to the community in his passing. How did his passing shift your personal outlook on maybe seeking medical attention after a bite, or
Well,
what's your take on
his,
that?
his death never done nothing one way or the other to everyone's personal beliefs. That it didn't affect Jamie's belief of not going to a doctor was his own. And I know numerous men and women today that they have never sought medical attention for a snake bite, uh, and they won't. They will lay there and they will die, and that's between them and God. I don't have that outlook. I don't believe it that way. I have been bitten 5 times over almost 20 years. The first time I was ever bitten, I was bitten with a rattlesnake. I wasn't handling it as part of a church service. I was out in Jamie's snake room, actually. I was 19-year-old, had just turned 19 a few months before, and careless accident. I got rattlesnake bit, and it crippled me. That's if you see as you see my finger there, I I can't make a full fist, you know and so I can't lay that finger down all the way when I make a fist. I come a hair of dying. I went to the hospital. I almost died, but that was no different than you going out into your yard and getting rattlesnake bit. I mean, mine was a careless accident. Yours could be a careless accident. You got snake bit. Then I got cottonmouth bit in the back of the head while I was handling it in church. I never got sick. I never swelled. I never, nothing, no pain, no anything. It bit me the first time in the head, and before I could pull it down, it let go and struck again and grabbed me right in the hairline and
Ooh.
held on. It just done like that, and I could feel it doing its fangs like this. And it finally let go of me. I was anointed. The Lord had moved. The Lord had instructed me to do this. It didn't hurt me. Uh, then I got copperhead bit on the tip of my middle finger there. And that was a time uh, of God moving in a they shall lay hands on the sick and they shall recover scenario. There was an old man had these two copperheads, and he was handling them, and one of them struck at him. Well, I wasn't instructed of God to do this. I didn't feel the Spirit to do it, but it was uh, 3 weeks, almost a month, three weeks and 4 or 5 days after Jamie had died. I didn't want to see no one else get bit. I didn't want to see no one else hurt. I didn't want to see, so I just reached and got them. And when I went to turn to put them in a box, boom, that copperhead struck and grabbed me, and I was thinking, well, here I am, I'm bit. And they began to lay hands on me, pray for me. God showed up and moved then, right then. I never swelled. There was no swelling. No, it bled, but that was it. I mean,
Well,
And then
how did you handle the psychological fear of maybe going back to the snake box after nearly dying like that?
it was a it was almost an ignorant determination, because as a young man, when I the first bite, I felt like I had a point to prove. And I felt like if you don't get back up in the saddle after a horse bucks you, you'll never ride a horse again. I was bit on a Sunday. I was in ICU Sunday night, Monday night. On Tuesday, word had gotten around to me that people had made comments about me going to the hospital. I signed myself out of the hospital. I went to church on Wednesday with my arm as big as my leg, black. I was black, yellow, purple, all down my side. My blood platelet count was 0. The doctors begged me, told me I would die, and I've got to go. And I jumped straight back in. I was handling serpents the Wednesday night after I got bit with the first time,
Wow. Wow.
and then the Thursday night, the next night. So 4 days, my arm as big as my leg. I go to a box. I pulled 8 rattlesnakes out of a box. But this is where I wish we had hours upon hours, because I want to explain. That was God's mercy. That's what it was, and that's all I can attribute to this, because I felt I had to prove that I'm a believer. I believe in this. I pull these 8 rattlesnakes out, and I'm laying them over this arm that is grotesque in size, and I get them all put up, and I'm standing there, and I'm trying to preach, and all of a sudden I begin to vomit blood everywhere. Where is God getting any glory in that? Where is anyone getting help or strength or encouraged? The only thing I done was scare people, and God spared my life. And but as far as Jamie goes with the medical attention or not, there's been people for years go to hospitals. There's been people for years that didn't go. It's to each their own. It's to each individual person's preference, or what they feel convicted to do or not to do in their heart.
Uh, I got a personal question. Do you keep like a snake venom there? I mean, far as anti-snake
Oh
venom?
Lord, no, we don't keep nothing like that. No, if somebody gets bit, uh, my personal policy is I ask them, what do you want to do? Do you want to go home, or do you want to go to the hospital? What do you want to do? They want to go to the hospital, we take them to the hospital. There's no judgment. There's no looking down on, not from us. Now there
Right.
is people out there like that, but not us. Uh, I I I don't look down on people for that. I mean, you're snake bit. Go to the hospital. If God doesn't arrive and move and instantaneously do something right there, go to the hospital, because He gave that doctor knowledge enough to give you the antivenom. He has a way of moving for you. But and then if they don't, we take them home, and we pray with them and set up with them and help tend to them the best we can.
Yeah.
And which, thank God, I can honestly say, I personally, in my building, for the 7 years that we have had the building in Kentucky, there ain't been but one snake bite in that building, and it was me. And it was the 2024 Pastor Appreciation Service. There was a copperhead bit me here in the forearm, and I didn't even know I was snake bit. We had these copperheads, and the Lord had moved, and I had them, and I felt a little pinch, but I thought I had my sleeves cut, and I thought my button or something got caught in my arm hair. And someone had come up to get those serpents, and I retched them out. And when my sleeve pulled up, I seen I had 2 holes and was bleeding. It didn't faze me. I knew that the Spirit had moved, and uh, we got the serpents and put them up. I went to the bathroom, and I looked, and sure enough, I had 2 little puncture wounds right there from one of those copperheads. And I thought, well, now, Lord, I knew what you was doing. I knew how you had moved, and I'm okay. I walked back out, and no one had seen it. Nobody had seen it bite me. And one other person had seen the blood on my shirt, because naturally it bled through my shirt sleeve. And there was a woman in the back, and man, you talking about a symbol. You talking about keeping time, with them symbols. But the spirit begins to move her. She comes up, lays the symbols down. She lays her hands on my head. She speaks in tongues. She prophesies to me that this day I will, and I'll take care of thee, and no harm. I looked around at the older man that knew I was bit. I said, I'm good. I said, the Lord's done moved. I'm fine. And I was. I never swelled, never got hurt, nothing. And I thank God for that. It's been now my last bite that hurt me was again in the only two times I've ever been hurt being snake bit was both in Jamie Cooch's snake room. The first time he was alive and it was the rattlesnake. The second time was in 2017. I got bit in the chest with a massive copperhead, and man, you talking about pain. That hurt. That hurt bad. But yeah, it's been 2 years now almost since the last time I was bit at all. But it's been almost 10 years since I've been snake bit and hurt.
Well, I know we went to the top of the hour that we kept you this long, and it's really been interesting and very
I hope you've enjoyed, and I
informative.
hope the listeners have enjoed it. And
I believe it give them some enlightenment there, and I think that that the churches are blessed. It feels the Holy Spirit move in the church,
yeah,
and I'm praying that all churches will be able to experience that. Spirit come on and kind of shake you up, because I think we all need shaking up
oh
uh,
sure,
sometimes, and I pray for that spirit to come across there. And I really appreciate you sharing how the spirit moves in your church, and we got to show a couple videos how it moved in the church.
yeah,
uh, it's we take, sometimes we get in routines,
oh yeah.
and then we get to that routine, like, okay, I go here, and just you kind of lose that. So I'm
But
glad.
I know we're probably fixing to have to go, but can I say this before we go, Jerry?
Sure, go ahead.
I made the comment earlier that the Andrew Hamblin that people see on Snake Salvation is dead. That the same one that people read about in the articles, they see on the YouTube videos. I don't live there no more because, as you said, sometimes we need a shaking up. And I want to tell this for anyone who hears this. Uh, Me and my wife, Taylor, we are not your normal serpent handling believers. Uh, the more traditional style, and then we don't knock the tradition. Your convictions is your convictions. That's your business. But I want to share what happened to me, what shook me up. In 2019, I had gotten to such a state of watching religion and what religion done. And I'll be quick with it. I'll be quick. Well, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go to a church building because I had no desire, because I was watching what religion done. Religion, it was okay for this family, but it wasn't okay for that family. Religion was okay. It okayed you if you had the right last name, but it didn't okay this. But either way, I just gotten into a bad state of mind during that time, and I was on my deck out here one day. It was in June of 2019. I was on my deck, and my wife had went to church. Taylor had went, and I was standing there, and I began to have a conversation with God, just like I'm talking to you. And I said, God, we've got to talk. If all of this, and I went down the line, snake handling, speaking in tongues, shouting, dancing, the dress code in the Pentecostal holiness movement. But to save time, I went down the list: hair, makeup, jewelry, facial hair, short sleeves, television, theme parks, all those rules and restrictions and everything you're not allowed, you are allowed. Baptism, water baptism, Jesus only, Trinitarian, whether you're baptized in Jesus' name, if you're baptized Trinity, whether you believe Pentecostal, Baptist, Holiness, Presbyterian, Methodist, Church of God. I said, God, if all of that, all of everything that I named, and my list was a whole lot longer than what I've gave you. I said, if all of that is what salvation is, I said, I can't do it, and I refuse. I said, I can't. I said, I said, there's no way that I can. I said, because I've tried it. I've tried being Free Will Baptist. I've tried being Pentecostal. I've tried being hardcore holiness. There was a time, Brother Jerry, you wouldn't have seen me in no elbow length shirt. You wouldn't have seen me with a watch on or a wedding band or facial hair or a television in my home or anything else. I preached against those things. I was holiness, you know. But I told God, I said, I can't. I said, and not only that I can't, I refuse. I said, because I'm doomed. I'm doomed either which way. I'm destroyed. No matter which way I go, I can't make it. I said, but God, if you'll take everything away from me, everything that I learned in Free Will Baptist, everything I learned in serpent handling, everything I learned in Holiness Church, Pentecostal Church, any denomination, everything that I named off to you. I said, God, if you'll take it all away from me and leave what's real, then I can make it. And a light bulb went off in my life, Brother Jerry. And I understood in that moment what the grace plan really done for me. And I understood in that moment what the cross had done for me. So now, yes, I still take up serpents. That video that you watched in here was me preaching at homecoming day of last year. And I was preaching to you about that thief on the cross. He was never baptized. He never took communion. His name was not on a church book. He was not a member of a denomination. He never abided by the law. He did not. He was a thief. He was guilty. He was rightfully on that cross beside of him. But yet he looked at him and said, remember me. He said, this day you'll be with me. And no doubt if we could look at it in a carnal sense, people look at that thief going into the gates of heaven saying, how did he get here? How does he deserve to be here? He wasn't he wasn't his name on a church book. He wasn't part of the synagogue. He wasn't there for worship when the law was read. The man never even kept the law, but yet he's here. And that little man turned around and looked and said, I'm here because of Jesus. That's what shook me up. And so I wanted to end with that because my goal now, when I meet people, people come up to us, and I still get people. I get crazies. I get messages all the time. From time to time, but I still get the crazy messages. People making fun and whatever. But we meet people, and they'll be standoffish, and I'm like, I'm not what you've seen in the TV show. I'm not who you've seen then. This is me now. I'm saved, and I'm going to heaven, and I want you to get saved and go to heaven too. And I still get people, but I don't know about them snakes. Well, I don't either. As of right now, I don't even have any serpents to take to church. Right now, I work too much. I've not been out snake hunting. If I get one and the spirit moves, we'll take it. If not, that don't make no never mind to me. But I don't even own a serpent right now, and that's okay, because that's not what my salvation is in. My salvation is because of Christ. But I just wanted to say that, Brother Jerry, and so I'll let you, whatever else you want to do.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing with us your stories and taking a lot of people's misconception of and I'll have that video still up for us when I did years ago, and I still once in a while somebody will comment, someone will comment and glorifying God or something like that, and then I have, like you said, the crazies that don't
Oh yeah,
sense.
and the good part about the crazy, or good part, we'll say it this way: the good part about the other side, we live in the United States of America. They have every right in the world to disagree with me. They have every right in the world. People have it. That is why we are in the United States. You are more than welcome. I don't agree with the fact that social media has gave everybody a platform for their opinion, because opinions are a whole lot like armpits, and everybody usually has two, and they both stink.
Yep.
But you are entitled to your opinion. You are entitled to say anything you want to say, but there's also consequences to what you say. There's consequences to your actions. But so I welcome the people that say, man, they're crazy. They're what you have every right to. But I also ask that people listen to what I'm trying to say now, here in 26. Don't listen to, a 15-year ago immature person. I'm trying to tell you now, the power is real. Sure, it can be done, but that's not the main thing. And it's not the main thing even for the traditional serpent handling people. You do got crazy serpent handlers. You got crazy Presbyterian people. You got crazy Church of God. You got crazy Baptists. Uh, some of the videos that I'm sitting there doing this to is when you get some of those, good King James only preachers, and they're across every denomination, and they're sitting there, and I'm like, have y'all done a history lesson on King James lately? Y'all do realize 1611 came 1611 years after Christ, but that's my opinion. And I'm entitled to that. But anyway, I appreciate you, Brother Jerry. You've been a friend to us, a friend to Brother Jamie's family. You were a friend to Brother Jamie, and so I appreciate this. I've enjoyed it.
Well, I appreciate you coming. May God bless you and your wife and your ministry, and continue doing that. I'm going to put you kind of backstage a minute, and I'm going to
All right.
sign off, and I'll come back to you. Okay.
All right, Brother Jerry. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I hope you've learned some great insights and knowing some different things. And, we all need an education on all types of religion and to see how God works in all religions. That's as long as it's glorifying Him. Uh, you know, that's what we need a shot of. So, well, I'm Jerry McKee, and next week we'll be talking to uh, Mad Music, the band there of up in Spartanburg. He'll be coming to my home here. He's welcome here to sit back and talk about great music that they have. Well, I'm Jerry McKee, and you have a great night, and God bless.